Very good afternoon to you. Yes, we're back again in the Tour of Turkey. Today's stage from Khashoggi to Izmir, 125 kilometers, stage 7. The man in the leader's jersey there in the center in the turquoise is Mustafa Seyer of the Turku squad. They also have the mountains classification jersey, the red one, on the shoulders of Sergei Grechin. That man there yesterday, Nathaniel Bahani, was the man unfortunate enough to lose it to Seyer in the climb to Selçuk. A lot of riders really suffering at the fierce pace of Mustafa Seyer yesterday. But everybody smiles this morning. This is André Greipel. He's safe in the points leader's jersey. He's had a very good week. He's kept himself out of trouble. There's been no crashes involving him. He was very lucky to avoid the one that took out Theo Bos and Mark Renshaw. Always good to have a little band action before the start. They are clearly top of the hit parade. Seyer on the right-hand side. In the center, Mikhail Ignatiev of Katusha in the Turkish Beauty Spots jersey, looking very pensive, Seyer, and I'm not surprised. And the man in the points jersey is André Greipel. Rolling out, Mustafa Seyer in the center of the shot here has only today and tomorrow to survive in that turquoise leader's jersey to be the first Turk to win here in the Tour of Turkey, his home tour. Turku themselves, very strong indeed yesterday. I think it was 4 or 5 in the top 15 to 20 up the final climb to Selçuk. Turkish beauty sprint being taken by Mikhail Ignatiev. This is at Ephesus. Watch it, sir, Mr. Commissaire, you'll be mown down. He's going to end up with a jersey, is Mikhail Ignatiev, in this way. Jos van Enden taking the 3 points, and Vyacheslav Kuznetsov of Katusha mopping up that single point at the end just to help cement Ignatiev's lead. This area we're in today, coming to Izmir, is probably the most stuffed area for historical monuments you could ever imagine. Ephesus is here in this region. And the massive Temple of Artemis, which you'll have seen if you know the 7 Wonders of the World, is also, well, in Izmir. It takes in all these old regions at the moment, Pergamon, Sardis, all those old Asia Minor Hellenistic colonies and Greek Ionic qualities before that. Fantastic, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. If you've ever been to an amphitheatre like that, you can stand right in the centre, the orchestra right in the centre, and you could have somebody sitting right at the end, right at the very top tier, and you could just almost whisper or talk in your normal voice. You don't have to project very much, and you can hear them as clear as a bell. It has been full on today, 125 kilometres, and it's just been like this all the time. People trying to get off the front and being brought back. One little attack will show to go. This is Brice Filieu trying to make it stick. And then they'll just bring him back again and again and again and again. Kosheshkin coming across to this gap now with Joel Jensen of Saxo Bank Tinkoff. One man will tell you exactly what it's like. You can tell it's a bumpy road surface again. Look at that. Vibrations must do your wrists and your hands in if you've been doing this day after day after day. Is my co-commentator once again, Magnus Backstedt, winner of Paris-Roubaix in 2004, stage in the Giro, stage in the Tour de France. He's here, he's been riding just about everything he can. It is a whole day in the saddle for you today, Magnus. You managed to do the whole stage. Tell us about it.
I got up early this morning and set off and rode the whole stage, and it's actually a very, very nice stage as such. Like you were touching on, the roads are quite, how should we put it? Bumpy is probably an understatement at this point in time, and it tends to, your hands gets a bit sort of a bit tender, and your backside as well after a while. But nevertheless, the views and the scenery of this ride, I got to say, it's probably one of the nicest rides I've done in some time, and really enjoyed myself this morning. A little bit of wind coming off the sea for pretty much the whole stage, so it could actually open up itself for a couple of nice little echelons at certain points, if obviously if the riders who are racing are so inclined to do that.
They seem to be taking it pretty Harry Flatters today, completely going for it, high speed all the way. It's strung out with even 80 kilometers to go with one big long line here in Turkey, running into Izmir today. As I said, 125, actually it's 124.5 kilometers, but we won't quibble about the extra 500, although the sprinters might have to say. It's got that now infamous little hairpin bend at the end, the one where Ilya Kesa last year fell on his way around, and then got up, got back on the bike, put the chain back on, stuck it in gear, and still won the stage ahead of everybody, showing what a great rider he is. He wasn't flustered by it. But when you get here, Magnus, and you have a look at the road surface, even as a punter, it's a little bit like the surfaces that some of you will know from going to Mallorca up to, say, Soler, for example. It's quite slippy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's almost like the tarmac has almost, you know, the tar has bled through and come up above the stones, and then all the trucks and cars that are right around here, you know, they've made it's almost like it's a shiny kind of surface.
Polishes it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and with that, certainly if it gets hot, then the surface will get very slippery, and you know, you just need to pay a little bit of attention going through that final corner. Unfortunately, there's too many cars this afternoon, or this round about lunchtime when I got here, so I couldn't really do the final 3 kilometers flat out like I've been able to do in previous days.
Well, another group trying to go away. Whether this one will stick or not, I really don't know. It seems to be getting bigger by the second. And yep, they're all sort of been fairly flat out for most of the day. Filippo Pozzato goes through your shot there. Very, very hot today out on the road. Good hot or bad hot? I mean, you can have either, can't you? I mean, you get a little bit of a breeze and it's really nice, or it could just be stifling. What is it?
No, there has been days that's been a lot hotter, and maybe a little bit sort of more, I don't know how to put it really, more sort of humid heat, which means that you tends to sweat a lot more than what you do normally.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 men here in this little breakaway, and some others trying to join them here at the back, just fighting to get on at the moment is Kevin de Mersmecker, the Nordisk team. He's already got one man in the breakaway. This is going to be characteristic. This is one of the reasons, of course, Magnus, that the pace has been so high today, because everybody's been trying to get into a break who hasn't got anything from this tour yet.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those stages. It's a short stage, relatively speaking. You know, 125k is basically just about where the first feed is in some of the classics. So with that, you know, all the guys are gonna go out there and really race for it. And obviously, if they want to dislodge Mustafa Sayar from the leader's jersey, today is the day to go out there and really, you know, try and put to start off with his teammates under pressure to work hard, and then try and isolate him and attack him after that.
At the moment, though, I mean, the pace is not slow, but it's not super high here. They bunched up a little bit, Magnus. It doesn't look like any of the big favourites, or any of the big favourites teams are trying to put Mustafa Sayar's Turku team under real pressure. We don't know who's they're going to be in here. I mean, Michael Hepburn we saw earlier sort of flicking the elbow out to try and get people to come through as soon as they possibly can. But Hepburn's at, you know, nearly an hour down on the general classification. Doesn't look like the Turku team is being put under particularly severe pressure at the moment.
No, they needed to sort of get one of the top guys needed to sort of get out of the comfort zone a little bit today. Stop riding for the general classification as such, and maybe be willing to sacrifice the race a little bit. You know, maybe someone like Cam Meyer try and go in there, maybe going away with someone like Hepburn, then that to you know, could be a good little combination, and certainly would put the Turku team straight in under pressure.
Mikhail Ignatiev now giving a bit of pressure at the front, as Turku have two men here. Argos Shimano still just mixing it up in there. It's a good sprint day today. Marcel Kittel will want something out of this one. He wasn't happy with yesterday, for sure, and I think that Argos will want to cement just what a good rider he is by going out and taking a sprint win today. And of course, he's got to come up for his own peace of mind. He's got to come up against Ondrej Greipel and beat him.
Yeah, he has to. He has to. Greipel's got a couple of sprints on him now, so you know, it's for his own ego going to some of the bigger races later on. You know, he needs to get to that point where he beats Greipel.
Okay, number of riders have managed to get into a little bit of a breakaway. They've got 19 seconds, but they're having to work very hard. There's Jensen, Joel Jensen at the front for Saxo Tinkoff. Michael Hepburn comes through, the team pursuit rider. He's been very active through this entire tour of Turkey, Magnus. I think he's had quite a good one, really.
Yeah, he has. I mean, you get into certain races where you go on an attack the first day, and you know you actually make the break that day, and then you keep on going, and you sort of end up finding yourself in every single breakaway there is in that particular race. And some days you're really struggling to find a break in the whole Tour de France. And you know, I remember one year back in '98 actually, when I rode the Tour de France, and I was on everything every morning, trying to get myself into that elusive breakaway that's going to maybe get me to the point where I could go for a stage win. And it took me until stage 19 before I actually managed to catch a break and get away with a break. And you know, that sort of
just the best part of 19 stages trying to get in.
Well, 18 days I tried to get into breakaway.
Wow.
Went on everything apart from the one that stuck for that particular day, and then sat in the peloton frustrated about not making it. But then I decided to take matters into my own hands on the 19th day, and managed to walk away with the stage then as well. So.
Well, there you go. Well, does it actually? I mean, it sounds a bit ridiculous, but it's almost like, I suppose you could looking back at it, it's a fairly good training actually. If you try and get in every break that goes, you're working really hard for training, and then basically you have that breakaway gets caught, then you can sit up at the peloton, take a bit of rest, you do it day after day after day. Does it really bring your form on?
It does massively. Just getting yourself out there and working at that rate for such a long period of time, you know, it definitely brings your form on. And there are certain riders who definitely they're thinking a bit about that, you know, maybe get that really big workload in on a specific day, and with that they decide in the morning that, okay, I'm going for a breakaway today.
Right hand side of the screen is Mustafa Ser's Turku squad all riding together. De La Fuente showing a bit of a joke with the teammate there, and Mustafa Ser looking a little pensive in his turquoise jersey, and I'm not surprised. He's got a 1-inch, how should we say, emphatic style yesterday, and it puts him under a lot of pressure, Magnus, because he's got the turquoise jersey on his shoulders. He's the first Turk to be in a sort of situation where he could win the national tour, and he did give it such an emphatic display yesterday that he will be a marked man.
He will certainly be a marked man, and I mean, any day you get a leader's jersey, and this guy hasn't been in any leader's jerseys before, really, has he? You know, he's certainly going to feel the pressure of a home race, and there's an awful lot of good bike riders around him as well. So I think he's definitely feeling the pressure.
Cheng?
And more so tomorrow, I think, than today.
Yes, that's true. This is Cheng, the Chinese rider, the only Chinese rider actually in the World Tour peloton at the moment. Oh, Mustafa Ser is being leader of the pack. We're all going to stop for a natural break, as they say. And Turku are just going to roll along at the front here. It is the way of things that you don't get attacked in this sort of situation, but you never know. These things can happen.
Yeah, there's a bit too many guys from different teams sort of stopping at the moment, but
Exactly.
it has happened in the past that, you know, the leader's jersey stopped in the wrong time, and you know, guys have attacked at that particular point. But usually you sort of it's a gentleman's kind of agreement that if the leader's jersey stops for a natural break, then you don't attack him.
It also happens in feed zones sometimes, or shall we say, as they come out the far side of the feed zone, or just coming into it, the pace is upped by a certain team, and you can sometimes find people getting caught out. That's a little bit more common. You see that a bit more often. You hardly ever see people being attacked during a natural break. To be fair,
you don't. But even the you know, through the feed zone and that, if the race has been on, if you've been doing crosswind sections, whatever, or there's been a load of attacks for some time, then you know, you go through the feed zone at the pace that you were doing, you're still racing. So it's up to everyone to, if they need food, then they got to pick it up in one way or another, or just wait for your team car to, you know, the team car will pick up all the musettes that Soigneur has on the side of the road, and then if you find a calm moment and one rider goes back and gets a couple of feed bags, just like you would with bottles, and bring them up to his teammates.
So what can we tell you about the man in the turquoise jersey, Mustafa Seyer, who rides for the Turku Seka Sport team? Well, he only turned professional back in 2011. Before that, he was an Elite 2 rider before he went to Turku in its previous incarnations. He has actually got a fairly good track record of wins. He was a national champion of Turkey in 2009. Didn't win a thing in 2010, but won quite a few races. Well, won I think 2 or 3 the year after. He won the Tour of Isparta, which is a Turkish tour, in 2011. But 2013, second in the Tour of Algeria, and second in the Tour de Blida as well, which is also in Algeria. And at the moment, he's leading the Tour of Turkey, but that is by far the biggest, the biggest win on his palmares is yesterday's stage at Selçuk, even bigger than the National Championship, because it's now quite a big race, the Tour of Turkey.
It certainly is. I mean, all these big teams are coming across here, and you know, it's becoming quite a sought-after tour.
Nice bikes, aren't they? Those bikes from CCC Polestar. They're rather old school, with thin tubing. They look nice.
They do look nice, actually. Yeah.
I think they wobble underneath you a bit, maybe. Who knows?
You know, who knows?
It could be deceptive carbon. You can do an awful lot with it.
Most of the time, it depends on what you're putting into the carbon fibre. The resin that you use for laminating the carbon fibre together, that's the most important component in any carbon fibre, really. Yeah,
it's the way it's glued together with the resin, isn't it? People forget that a lot of people coming in buying their first carbon bike, they think about the carbon in it. They're told about the quality of the carbon, whether it's in T800 or T1000 or whatever it happens to be, carbon. They're sold it on that particular basis, how good the carbon fibre is, but actually nobody ever mentions the resin. You can put the best carbon in the world together with absolutely rubbish resin, it'll fall apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's equally as important as the carbon in it. There is our leader, Mustafa Seyer, in the turquoise jersey of leader. Let's just won't dwell on it, because today is another day, but yesterday's stage finish, Magnus, Mustafa Seyer just turned that big gear, and literally, I mean, it wasn't a massive dancing attack in the style of a Contador or a Rodriguez or something like that, or, you know, punchy attack from a rider like that. It just literally, he rode away in a sort of grinding gear.
Yeah, it wasn't much of an attack really, although he did put quite a big effort in on doing it. You know, it was. I still don't understand how he managed to turn that gear over on that particular climb, but you know, it's a phenomenal ride that he's done, and all you can do is just, you know, lift your hat to him.
than Andre Greipel, who's looking the more composed man at the moment. I've got to say the finishes have been much more suited to Andre Greipel than Marcel Kittel in the last week, except for stage 1, of course, for where Kittel took that. But they'd like to even it up, wouldn't he? Because I think it will do him an awful lot of good to do that.
I think so too. And you know, like you said, Kittel hasn't really had a day which has suited him. He's nowhere near as good as in the climbing phase of the riding as Greipel is, and with that, you know, he gets limited to a certain number of sprints that he can do. And to be fair, the last two stages Greipel has won has had a bit of a sting to it before the sprint has even started.
Yeah, a bit more than a bit of a sting sometimes, isn't it? It's been, been quite a hard one every time he's gone through it. These are your breakaway men. The man at the back is Michael Hepburn, terrific team pursuiter. Just dropping off from his turn on the front is Mauro Finetto. Second time we've seen him in a break. He's no threat either, that's why they've let them go. Finetto, 45th overall at 17 minutes and 48. Michael Hepburn, 57 minutes and 22. Ooh, looks a bit like the west coast of Wales, doesn't it there?
It
Except
does.
more sunny.
And warmer.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. A little bit warmer than Fishguard. Etienne Kibeka doing some pace setting on the front here, which is interesting. Well, Gerald Cielek the other day was absolutely perfectly placed behind Andre Greipel. I don't know what he did. He sort of just turn off or go to sleep or whatever. He just got in the wrong place and that was it. It was all over so quickly.
Well, he was sitting in the perfect position to open up the sprint, and he even had an opportunity to maybe even catch Greipel out a little bit. And then it just looked like, you know, he let himself get swamped, and after that he just couldn't get out from once Greipel had gone. He was stuck on the back there. Yeah, I don't quite know what happened.
No, I don't. We're still sort of wondering about how he managed to get caught out that way.
But you know, it's not like Charlie to get caught out like that either.
Pozzato lying the bike on the side of the road, just going to take a spare one. Clearly feels there's more of a problem with it than just changing a tyre. No panic whatsoever for Pipo.
And you know, sometimes a rider, certainly in a race like this, a rider like Pozzato, he might just go, you know what, I fancy riding my spare bike for a bit.
Just to get used to it, just to...
Exactly, just to get used, just to ride a saddle in a little bit, get used to the to the handlebars and so on, to make sure that, you know, the bike is set up properly. And I mean, it doesn't matter how meticulous you are when you set a bike up, it's never on the bang on the millimeter the same as your other bike, and the frame might feel a little bit different. So just getting half a stage on it is not a bad idea.
Talking of frames, I was looking at Filippo Pozzato's Merida there. Merida, probably one of the, along with Giant, the two biggest manufacturers in the world. Merida owns Specialized, for example, so they're absolutely huge, the Taiwanese brand. Looks an awful lot, actually, like the frame you're riding, with those seat stays that terminate, what, sort of 6 inches or so below the seat post.
Yeah.
What's the theory behind that?
Well, the theory for me putting that together was to get a slightly more comfortable ride. Also aerodynamically, it is an improvement on having the seat stays go all the way up to the junction with the top tube like a traditional bike would. The difficult part though is to get the frame to be stiff enough with that kind of a setup. But yeah, definitely the aerodynamic side and the ride comfort are the two big factors of trying to put that like that.
65k. We've got a 2-minute 43-minute breakaway out ahead at the moment. You can see Damian Goudan churning away at the back. We'll take a short break.
Dikkat et oğlum.
Pass off.
Pass upp, pass upp, pass upp!
Attention, spatimo.
Nej!
Kalm.
Kijk, shoot hem maar!
Goed.
Follow the score of your favorite team live and find the latest results and features with Eurosport's live score.
Get Eurosport.com for your iPhone free. Every day sees full and expert coverage of sports news with dozens of articles and an easy one-stop video section that lets you live and relive the very best moments of sport. Follow all the scores, fixtures and tables live. Eurosport.com, the reference and sport apps available on the App Store.
Welcome back. It's, or welcome if you're just joining us here on stage 7 of the Tour of Turkey. 64 kilometers to go. 2:41 is the breakaway. Group of men not the challenge in the overall classification are out ahead, including Orica Green Edge's Michael Hepburn and Mauro Finetto from Vini Fantini. They've both been in the break before. Good riding by Hepburn. He's been pretty active and looking quite good, riding himself into this whole top tier of things. Great team pursuiter that he is. 2:41 is the gap. The man in the turquoise leader's jersey is Mustafa Seyer of Turkey. You can see him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 back. Just about there's Ilio Kayser.
Last year's winner of this stage.
I was just about to say, if you haven't ever seen it, go and look up on the search engine Eurosport, if you can find it anywhere, Eurosport's finish from last year. I'll make an exception, don't normally say this, but have a look at it, because Carlton Kirby and Brian Smith were doing it, and Sean and I were watching it, and Carlton was in full, absolutely full flight with about 5 kilometers to go, and he got just more and more animated and more excited. And then the last hairpin bend, now absolutely infamous, because Ilio Kayser fell off on the hairpin bend and got back on, put his chain back on, got up, rode away, and still stayed away because he was in a lone attack by himself. And I thought Carlton was going to explode, to be honest. It's absolutely bonkers. You have to go and watch it if you can find it. Here's the leader, though, Mustafa Seyer, in the turquoise jersey of leader of the Tour of Turkey. And it's a bit of a strange situation here, Magnus, because we've got about 2-3 teams tactic than this if you want to break the leader's jersey here.
Well, I think so too, seeing as we've got you know, a number of teams in relatively close sort of contention for the jersey. I'm thinking of Cofidis and Europcar, Soya Sun as well. But you know, put a rider out there who's maybe at 3-4 minutes. You know, try and get them to attack up there, like, and then put Torque under pressure. Don't sit and ride with them, because you know all you're doing is just towing the jersey to the finish line, and you kind of you've gone. Until you've basically cracked the Torque team, and then take on Mustafa Seyer on his own. Absolutely brilliant for racing. Long enough climbs to really give you that little bit of a sting as you go over the top of them, and then fly down the other side at 60 kilometers an hour and straight back up the next one. I rode this stage this morning. I was, you know, I think we averaged almost 37k an hour out on our own. Me and one of the other commentators here, Martin McDonald, who's he was basically sitting on my wheel the whole day, poor bloke. Poor bugger.
Yeah, poor guy was saying as I came out, he'd just arrived, got changed and so on. He'd been sat down for about half an hour, and he just sort of wandered in, looking a little shell-shocked. I said, "Good day today." He said, "Yeah, I rode behind Magnus for the whole 125 kilometres." And he turned around to me as walking off and said, "Sometimes, you know, you just got to pack your ego away in your pocket, haven't you?" And then walked on a little bit more and then turned back and said, "Good job I've got big pockets, isn't it?" so yeah, you would put him in the hurt box today, I'm afraid. Yeah, they are good roads for racing, and the problem is they're not racing.
They're not, unfortunately. Like I said, it's certainly roads that lend themselves to be a lot more creative with your bike riding than what we're seeing on the screen right now.
Yeah. Flat front. And just pulling over to the right-hand side of the road is Benjamin Verrees. Waiting for the mechanic to come along nicely. Just waiting around. Interesting, these sort of lawyer's tabs or lawyer's lips on the wheels now.
But also he's still got his foot clipped in, which is not going to help his mechanic at all. That's Stephen Deneve, who just came running up there as sport director, a good friend of mine as well.
Didn't the mechanics ever tell the riders that to stop doing that, please, because it's really annoying?
They do, but then you got some riders who never really learn, and you know, it's slightly different today compared to what he was back in the day when I turned professional. You got told off if you didn't do your job the way it should be done. You know, that came from mechanics, it came from senior riders in the team or sport directors, you know, whoever it was. You know, you make a mistake once, you don't make it twice. If you make it twice, then you get told off. The third time, you get properly slapped over the fingers. It's that kind of a, you know, today the riders a lot of riders come in with a slightly bigger ego. I know how to do this already, don't tell me what to do kind of thing. And you know, it's difficult to change someone's way of doing things if they haven't got an open mind to maybe sort of get to that point and learn a faster way, a better way of doing it. What
year did you make the move up to elite team, shall we say, where you would be pitched in occasionally with professional riders in races, not turned professional yourself, but at the point where you started to learn from the pros by just watching them and having people looking after you who had been pros?
I was, well, we had an old Swedish professional rider called Sven-Åke Nilsson, who's ridden probably better part of 7 or 8 Tour de France's and never finished outside of the top 15. He took me on board when I just finished my first year as a junior, so that would have been 92, I think, 92 or 93. And basically he taught me everything that he knew, a bit like what I'm trying to do with a lot of the young guys that I'm working with these days, is passing experience and making sure that you get sort of told how to ride, how to do things, how to look after yourself, your bike, everything around it, how to be a good professional out on the road. And that kept on going, you know, with a national team, and I rode for a couple of smaller club teams as well out in Finland. But you know, my first year as an elite rider, as a senior rider, whatever you want to call it, you know, I think I did 130 days of racing internationally.
That's a lot.
That's an awful lot.
That's a huge amount.
Yeah, but I was literally out there all the time, traveling with different teams. My club team in Sweden, my club, the team that I rode for from Finland, the national team. It was just constant rotation, and you know, in between, I decided to take the car and drive down to Belgium and race, just do Kermesse races. So I spent a month down in Belgium, and where I raced pretty much every second day, and you know, that it brought me on an awful lot. Probably very hard upbringing as such, but you know, I can't fault it. It worked for me anyway.
It's true that, I mean, the reason I asked what year it was is because in your generation, as in mine on mountain bikes, and there was a lot of cross riders coming in with that. Their racing was 20 years previous to ours, and so they had been around in the mid-70s, and their mentors had been around in the 50s and so forth. So there was a lot of old school stuff came along. I don't think it's quite the same now. Certainly at lower levels, I don't think. For smaller teams, there are still some around, but I think the game evolves, doesn't it? It changes, but there are a lot of things from the past that we'd rather forget, frankly. Yeah. And there's a lot of practices that were just hocus pocus. Yeah. People just believed in them and they didn't make any sense whatsoever. But there was a lot of things, especially discipline and little things like you're saying, changing a wheel there, that were and still are absolutely applicable. As Europe car now, Damien Gaudin get towards the front. There's a little bit more purpose here now, bringing this back. But yeah, a lot of things that just need to be taught. Really.
But you know, even something so simple as to you know, changing from the little chainring to the big chainring, or vice versa. Today, the riders are coming up. They literally are turning professional. You know, last year, this year, whatever. They used to just push a button, and the chain goes up to the big ring. But they're expecting that to happen with 600 watts on the pedals, and you know, and then they wonder why the chain drops off on the outside or inside. Yeah. But you know, and also, you know, you twist the chain, you break the chain. There's so much pressure going onto the chains these days, because riders aren't doing it the way it should be done. You should never change, you know, from a little chainring to a big or vice versa under pressure. What you do is you stomp one time hard and then push the button when you got to ease off the pressure a little bit until the chain is caught on, and it's about, you know, it's actually got up to the big ring, and then you go again. So just little things like that. That when I got to start racing and started to have people, older riders around me, I mean, you know, they told me off properly because I would break the material that we were riding, and material is hard to come by and always has been in terms of sponsorship and so on.
Yeah, it's very simple things, tyre pressures and how to set up this or that, riding technique, riding in groups and so on. It's very interesting. It's very interesting to watch the rise of the sportive rider over the years, to see how they have had to, a whole new generation has had to cope and learn about riding in groups, riding in twos, riding in groups together, where yourself and every other ex-pro who's ever done anything just natural, because you've gone through so much of it, all riding in big groups. Interesting to see the education process that's gone through with the sportive riders. Yeah,
it is interesting, and you know, the funny thing is that a lot of the sportive riders are learning to do these things through the cycling magazines, and sometimes it's great advice coming from these different magazines, and other times it's not so great advice. But you know, we need more people out there to help and educate people to ride their bikes.
This is Jensen just tapping away here on the front. 2:31 is the gap. It was interesting to see a Europe car coming to the front to push things on a little bit. I wonder if they yet think that there's a chance that they can break Mustafa Sayre on the run into the finish. Interesting. They'd have to have a combine between 2 or 3 teams to give it real stick towards the end. Maybe they have a plan. I don't know.
No, I think it's going to be difficult. They would have needed to race much harder than and really put the whole team under pressure to be able to do something, I think, anyway. There are a couple of sections here within the next 10 kilometers where it starts to open up a little bit. It gets a little bit more crosswind, but whether it's enough to sort of create an echelon and break the whole peloton up, I don't know.
If that is the case, of course, then, well, I mean, we have a lot of racing here that we've seen that Mustafa Sayre has been involved in Turkey especially. A lot of it's based around the coast and this sort of area, because teammates. De La Fuente will be very important, though. He's a very experienced rider, and he'll know the score. If he sees people moving to the front ominously in that sort of fashion, he'll say, hang on a minute, chaps, it's going to happen in a minute. And it is extraordinary, isn't it, that you can ride with people like yourself, and I ride with Sean a lot, especially in big groups, and he'll ride up to me and say, it's going to go next lap or whatever. You have no idea, and you and he would just be able to know instantly that things are afoot.
It's generally a pattern of movement that's starting to happen, that you can sort of, with that you can tell that something is up, and certainly if you know, if there's been a load of attacks in the morning, and you get to a certain point, you can just sense that the guys that are following the attacks are starting to get a little bit more tired, a little bit more reluctant to make that big jump. They're starting to be a little bit more selective with what they're trying to go with, and at that point you just know, okay, give this another 10k and the group will be gone up the road.
The Turks are pretty happy. Yesterday at the top in Selçuk, they just went bonkers, to be honest. Not just the ones at the side of the road, but at the finish, everybody was jumping up and down. The crowds were cheering like crazy for Mustafa Seyer when he was on the podium. Even you got caught, didn't you, Magnus, as you were walking away with your bike to get in the van? A top TV personality, rather a nice-looking woman, actually, came up and grabbed you because you were recognised as an ex-pro and you know, and top bike rider, and they wanted a big interview with you.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it's one of them things, isn't it?
He says modestly.
Modestly.
It's just one of those things to be grabbed. Well, it's one of the perils of being an ex-bike rider who's won Paris-Roubaix in a couple of stages in Grand Tours. You know, you get grabbed for these sort of things, mate. Yeah. You're going to have to deal with it. But the point I was making is that the Turks were just sort of like, "Way, this is absolutely fantastic," and it was a complete change, wasn't it, in ambiance between the previous day and yesterday?
Yeah, definitely. But they seem very happy to sort of have any of us here really who's been around the sport for a long period of time, and then they seem very keen on learning and you know, have actually learned an awful lot about the sport. Anyone that I've spoken to is, you know, around with the organisation and so on, they're all quite aware of what's going on out in Europe in terms of the racing, and
I think they're all fairly aware of what's going on, full stop, to be honest. But interesting today, you were out on the ride, the full Monty. And as we see another change, Baptiste Plankat requiring something. Yeah, he's got a chain stuck in the rear derailleur there.
Oh, I think
it's dropped between the frame, is it?
Yeah.
It's dropped between the 11 sprocket and the frame, I think. Or has he twisted the derailleur? Difficult to tell from this angle.
I don't know, but he's going to have very mucky fingers, really.
Yeah, the chain is up, so it looks like he's bent the rear derailleur somehow. Possibly changing into the big ring without easing off the pedals.
Very, very possible.
Well, the reason we were talking about that is because chains, of course, have got progressively narrower and narrower and narrower as you've got more and more sprockets on the back. And so, therefore, if you are in the wrong gear, let's say you are in the 11 or 12 sprocket, and you go into the small chain ring, or even worse, you're in the sort of 20, 22, 23, 25 on the rear, and then go into the big chain ring, then you twist the chain because it's narrow.
Yeah, you do. At this point, though, why not get another bike?
Yeah, exactly. Mechanics brought out the other one. I'll tell you what, we'll do this, shall we? Maybe they haven't got another bike. That's the other reason.
That could be another reason for it, yeah. Obviously, when you're travelling far, it's an awful lot of luggage to drag with you. You know, 8-man teams means 16 bikes that you're going to drag with you, and spare wheels, etc., etc. It's I mean, it's half an airplane for one team, you know, to just get the equipment across here.
See the red jersey of Sergei Grechin, Mountains classification leader, up towards the front as well. As we were saying, the organisers themselves, I think, very aware of their own race, which we'll just leave it at that, and they this morning, actually, we seemed to be very welcoming. They're very welcoming about everybody's advice and opinions and so forth. I know they've asked you quite a few things, but this morning, I know you went off and rode the whole course, and of course I get here with everybody else, having done a bit of prep work and so forth. And then make sure you got your bag, and I'll make sure you get some food and stuff like that.
You do look after me well, David.
I love that. I love doing that sort of thing. You know, I really like looking after other people when they're riding or out on the road. As you found out from London to Paris last year, it's my favourite thing to do, to be honest. But yeah, they wouldn't let me get any food today. Would not let me get any food in the lovely little cantina area that they put for VIPs. We're not really supposed to be in there, but anyway, they wouldn't let me get any food until I said, oh, it's for Magnus Backstedt, he's ridden the whole course. And they went, you mean Magnus Backstedt who won Paris-Roubaix? I said, yeah. And they went, well, of course, sir. There you go. So I was allowed straight in, no problem. 2 minutes and 18 seconds. They're just leaving them out there, really. It's a hiding to nothing today for these men, I'm afraid. I don't mean to sound down on them, but it's going to end up as a bunch sprint, almost definitely. It's a very fast finish today. There are your riders in the break. Michael Hepburn at 57 minutes and 22 seconds. Christopher Juul Jensen, 36 minutes and 11. Just seen Martin Verschoor, 1 hour 9 minutes down. Nikolai Mikhailov of CCC Polsat at 40 minutes and 38, and Mauro Finetto is the best placed man in the breakaway, 17 minutes and 48 seconds down. The other man is Benoit Jarret of Britannia Serge at 46 minutes and 20 seconds. So absolutely no threat whatsoever today for the overall classification of Mustafa Seyer, and just letting them just have a go, really. 2 minutes and 9 seconds is the first breakaway that's actually stuck. The racing was fairly flat out for people trying to get away, and nobody wanting to let them get away. The smaller teams especially having to go earlier today, and the other smaller teams bringing it back, because there are a number of teams of those in the breakaway. Let's have a look. I mean, Saxo Bank haven't got anything out of this yet. Rory Sutherland's been going well, but they haven't got a stage win. Britannia want to show again here. CCC Polsat haven't got anything out of it. Neither have Nordisk. Team Novo Nordisk have got nothing whatsoever. In fact, they've hardly shown, have they?
And we've hardly seen them, yeah.
Hardly seen them. 2 men were trying to get into the breakaway today, just now here. Vini Fantini, close but no cigar. Mauro Finetti is in the breakaway again today. So they're all having a go. Realistically, it's the only thing they can do now.
It is pretty much the only thing they can do, but I got to say, I'm a little bit sort of upset that they're not taking it on, not giving the Turku boys a proper run for the money, at least. You know, at the moment we got 4 or 5 different teams from the, you know, sort of basically doing the work for Turku. So ultimately they're taking the leaders jersey to the finish, happy with. Second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever they're placed.
Yeah. Tell you what, I'll finish this bottle up, and to be fair, that was a bit daft. It's just habit, but Kurt Dox could have quite happily given that one back, frankly. He's right next to the car. He's the bottle carrier today, but rather than lobbing it into the side. And actually, we did see the sweep-up van yesterday, or at least I saw the sweep-up van. And there is a proper sweep-up team here in the Tour of Turkey, but even so, come on, boy. You're right next to it. Just lob it through the back window or something, for goodness sake.
I don't think the mechanic is going to be particularly happy about that.
Well, you could hand it nicely. Hand it nicely, then, is the main thing.
Get his lap full of sport drink.
Race director, Abdurrahman Ajtekin. Seems to be very happy with himself and happy with the race. It has been really well organised, to be fair. Very, very well organised indeed. 2 minutes and 9 seconds for these men. If you are the director sportive, as you have been a rider and director in the same team, Magnus, you're in a shorter stage race, which your team has been and that you were in control of. You haven't got anything out of the first 6 days. What do you tell the boys?
go. Basically, we got to put something, try and create something, and you know, anything that goes up the road, we got to have at least one man in there. That's usually the game plan for a smaller team. If you haven't got anything out of the first couple of days, is, you know, all about sort of being seen and so on. But most of the time I try to make sure that, you know, if there's a break that goes up the road like this, then yeah, we need to put one rider in there. But everyone else, we kind of set up for trying to at least battle with the bigger boys, bigger teams coming into the finish. And with the teams that I've run in the past, we've had certainly strong enough riders to, as far as I'm concerned, you know, challenge for stage wins.
Do you make the decision early on in the stage that actually the breaks are not going to play out favourably for you? You maybe don't have somebody who's strong enough to get away in a break, and maybe they're all a bit tired towards the end of the tour. Save their energies, hide in the peloton, and then try and do something at the finale?
Well, that is obviously one way of doing it. Most of the time, if we decided that we are going to put one rider in the breakaway and we miss it, then before they have 20 seconds, get all the guys on the front and bring that back. That would be partly my sort of way of doing it. Alternatively, you've got to sit back and have a couple of guys that maybe can have a flyer on the final sort of 3, 4, 5 kilometers, but that is a lot more difficult to do. And most of the time, you only get 20 meters up the road, and then you get shut down straight away.
Doing it again here, look. Riding for Turku, or not riding for them, but just making their job a lot easier. MTN Quebecer for Gerald Cielek a little later on. Maybe Andrea Gardini is feeling a little bit more like himself at the moment for Astana, because they've got a man up towards the front. Argo Shimano have Cheng, unsurprisingly, for Marcel Kittel. And there's a man in here just hidden away from the Accent Wanty team. They'll be riding for Stefan van Dijk, who's been in very good form, actually. The veteran Dutch sprinter. Van Dijk has been going pretty quick. Just making everybody's life easier at the moment. Silderez moves up a bit towards the front. Kevin Silderez, yesterday, we had one of our Belgian colleagues, who's a close friend of Silderez, saying, yeah, he's going to win, he's going to win, he's going to win at Selçuk. And you just sort of looked in his eyes, didn't you? And he went, I wish he wouldn't say that. As it turned out, Kevin Silderez was put under pressure very early in the climb yesterday and had a real problem. Ah, snap chain. No, snap gear cable by the look of it.
Well, that's a snap rear mech. So, and possibly a frame as well.
Yeah, hang on a second, let's have a look. Just before we get the chance to, is that a snap? It looked like a snap frame.
It's completely gone.
Yeah, looks like the rear dropouts completely gone there, because it's waggling around all over the place. Unusual, don't often see that.
S'il vous plaît. Merci.
Oh, what a shot!
Goodness only knows how she managed to do it in the end. It's out!
And there has been only one winner.
This was the plan.
Look at that! Perfectly delivered, and he's just said goodbye to everybody.
Hall goes bang, and the Suns are going to go on and win round one. Going to look to hit the ground running this evening in front of their home crowd support. That is absolutely amazing from Adler.
Gibril Cisse levels for Al Garrafa. Well, a monumental mess up in the centre of that Al Ain defence. Omar
All sports, all emotions. May on Eurosport 2.
This is Andreotto, who took the spare bike and is now getting back to the peloton. As you can see, there are spare bikes on the roof. 1, 2, 3 there.
3 left, I think.
Yeah, 3 left. As you can see on some of the other teams' cars, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the Argos Shimano team car. But it's not necessarily that they may have all just been given out somewhere else. They may not have been carrying as many, but you never know. There's Netap Endura's Fujis. Amazing how many bikes you can get on a small car, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
They're not very big yet.
Those bike rigs are they're handmade. There's probably 2 or 3 different companies that do make them, but the ones that the teams have on their cars over back in Europe, they carry 8 bikes and I think it's 6 spare wheels.
Yeah. Are they all still made in Flanders? There's one in France.
There's one in France. There's one in Flanders, and then there's one over in sort of Dutch Belgian border, where I've gotten a couple of them from a place called Neerpelt.
They're custom made for each model of car as well.
Yeah.
So yeah. They are ever so nice. They
they
can't do your fuel consumption much good, but they are ever so nice.
But they're not too bad, to be honest with you. Once you know, if you haven't got the bikes on the roof, then it folds down quite nice and flat. But yes, with 8 bikes on it, you don't want to do any longer trips.
That's true. Flens. There's Bahani here, just in your shot. The Eritrean rider, and until yesterday leader of this race. And Kevin Seldrez is still being protected behind his man, as Mustafa Sayat has the whole of the Turku team ahead of him. But they're still not racing much, are they? Oh dear. More changes have been. Francesco Kiki, a lot more important to get him back into the peloton. Kiki, a very fast man indeed.
And I think this today is a sprint that really does favour Kiki.
Why exactly?
Just, it's a fast sprint. It's a long straight. It's almost a kilometre long. Very tight corner, but it's not. You don't necessarily have to be that well placed coming out of the last corner. And yeah, when he gets it right, when he gets on it, he's fast enough to beat both Cavendish, Greipel, Kittel, you name him.
He's a good rider, Kiki. And now working his way back, having given the wheel, is Sano, the Japanese rider. 34 now, Sano, I think. We've seen him in one break here. Yes, a lot of people have pointed out, and at the moment, Rich Mellon, I think, pointing out, look, the very small estate cars here, little Clio estates, is that for economic reasons? It's because they're all provided by the organisers. They do a sort of fleet deal, as are all the racks. So they just turn up like that. And this is the standard practice in most smaller tours. So it'll be the same in Tour de Taiwan, for example, where it was about a month ago, although they have several manufacturers here. Whoa, whoa. Showing Kiki's bike handling skills, going around the team cars. That nearly called out, but not quite. And Sano is here now with Kiki in tow to bring him back through to the peloton. Yeah, it's fairly standard practice, isn't it, in these smaller tours, because it's such a long way to travel and so expensive to bring all the gear, to bring all the big estates and to bring the big trucks and the buses. There's none of that here. The smaller buses are here, like the camper van type buses, but none of the huge coaches you see.
No, it's virtually impossible to do all that, to get all that across here. And we got to think about as well that most of the teams have done the classics. There's Tour Romandie going on, other races as well in Europe. So, you know, they're probably another 2 teams on the road at the same time as these guys are racing over here. So it's a question of having the amount of equipment to in terms of, you know, machine park, really, cars, trucks, vans, all the rest of it, to sort of bring across. And it is, like you say, very, very difficult and expensive to do.
And then Staff is the other rider, just ahead of Kiki and Sano here. There is Staff riding now for the MTN Quebec squad. Smart move. Let's get some bottles, and I'll just save a tiny bit of energy here and get in between these last cars and behind Kiki. Because illustrating exactly what you said yesterday, Magnus, that you only need 1 or possibly 2 riders to bring somebody back to a peloton in this sort of state as it is, rather than get the whole team back there.
Yeah, it's certainly not necessary, and you know, you're risking to lose more out by sending a whole team back to get a rider, putting riders under pressure. It's easy to maneuver up with the cars, use the cars, and then get yourself back into the sort of peloton, and just leave 1 rider, you know, or maybe 2 riders on the back of the peloton, just keeping an eye on things, just in case the commissary is being a little bit unpleasant towards you, your rider.
Strict with the rules.
Strict with the rules. Let's put it that way. Yeah, and they do tend to be that sometimes.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll have days like it, won't we? There'll be a lot of criticism in some way, and they'll just switch 180 degrees the following day and make your life very difficult indeed. Luis Ferrier being brought to the back of the peloton. Clearly he's been maybe had a mechanical as well, because he's got 2 or 3 men around him. Finished fairly well yesterday, I thought, Luis Ferrier. He's in a group, I think 3rd group on the road, heading the 3rd group on the road home with Behani in it as well. And I don't know what you think, but I think he did a lot of good work for Behani, actually, even though he's a different team. He was pacing him as hard as he could, or maybe he was just riding his own pace to see what he could, but Behani benefited from it quite nicely. Here's your man in the breakaway, Benoit Jarrier of Bretagne Serge. Michael Hepburn of Orica Greenedge just going through to do his turn at the front, number 64 in the green, white and blue, and followed by Christopher Juul Jensen, who used to race for Ireland as a junior, number 23 for Saxo Bank. Dane going through now to do his turn on the front in the fluoro yellow is Mauro Finetto. 2nd time or 3rd time possibly we've seen him in a break. There goes Benoit Jarrier of Bretagne Serge in that distinctive grey with the orange. And the absolutely blindingly orange, rather the same sort of colour as the orange juice they serve up at lunch, actually, is Nikolai Mikhailov of CCC Polsat. Final man through, Martin Verschure of the Team Novo Nordisk outfit. We've not seen anything of them until today, so they've got a man in the breakaway. I'm afraid too late. Today, despite how well they're working together and rolling through, this is a day for the sprinters. There aren't that many opportunities left. There's only today and tomorrow, and they'll all be out for the victory. Greipel's the man to hunt down. Just look at the vibrations going through that seat post up to the saddle.
Yeah, this road is quite rough, actually. But at the same time, the speed when we rode along here earlier was, you know, quite high. I was able to sit here for probably a better part of 45 kilometers an hour and chug along.
And considering you were just riding it for getting the distance in and training and not racing, you averaged 37 kilometers an hour. That's pretty good going, really. Well,
I kind of put myself in a sort of rough power output as to what I would do in an Ironman. Seeing as I'm training for them for the back end of the year as well, so I thought 120, 530k of that kind of pace would do me quite nicely, and you know, with that you tend to go reasonably quick, but it's certainly far from race speed.
How much more comfortable Magnus, are the bikes of today. I mean, on this sort of road surface to ride, carbon is, they design it to try and be as stiff as possible to put the power output down, but also in ways that dampen you, not absorb, but dampen you from the shock, because if it absorbed it, it would get hot. It's the basic physics of it, but to dampen you from some of the riding, more or less than you used to have.
Well, it depends on the frame manufacturer a lot as well, and also depends on the model of the bike, what wheels you're using, what tires you're using. So it's not just the frame itself that's going to end up making you feel more comfortable on rougher roads. It's a combination of a lot of different things. But I would say carbon fiber definitely, if it's laid up in the right way, they can make it very dampening from the shocks that you get. But what you also got to remember is that all those vibrations coming through your seat post and through your handlebars, those are the ones that make you feel how much grip you got in the corners and what the bike is actually doing underneath you. So you need a certain amount, or quite a large amount of that, to actually realise what's going on with the grip of your tyres. And so it's not an easy equation to find that perfect, comfortable ride, but still getting all the information. It's like
we're getting into MotoGP territory here. I can see
we are borderline getting to that, but probably the easiest comparison to make is if you take a Formula One car and a really high-end performance car for the road. Formula One car is always going to be the faster car, and it's not necessarily very comfortable to drive. But these guys are looking for that kind of performance. But it's also, being able to spend 6-7 hours in the saddle. You need to just detune it ever so slightly and get that little bit of comfort in there. But handling-wise, the bike needs to be a Formula One car.
You famously won Paris-Roubaix on a bike made of titanium. I raced on titanium as well as a mountain biker, and I absolutely love it. But I should imagine it was pretty difficult to make one stiff enough for you.
Yeah, we did go through quite a bit of prep work and research and development for that particular frame. It certainly wasn't a cheap frame to make, that's for sure. And it is by far probably the most comfortable bike and the best handling bike that I've ridden ever.
Totally custom made, extremely expensive because of it. Well, I mean, titanium, a lovely material. I mean, lovely material to ride, I think, but I wouldn't say notoriously so, but very much more flexible than the carbon you can put in, and quite difficult to shape. This is the problem with it. It's shaping tubes in order to make them stiff enough is a difficult process with titanium.
But Bianchi managed to do that for me. They made like a proper oversized titanium tubing, really thin walls, and ended up doing some specific bits and pieces with internally as well inside the tubing to really get it to respond the way I wanted to, but still keep that soft sort of vibration absorbing nature of the material. And I mean,
do you ever ride it still?
I haven't got it.
Do you ever ask Bianchi for it back so you can ride it?
No. We'll
would you like to ride it again and see if it was as nice as you remember?
I would love to ride it again. Yes, I would love to. It's just one of those. It would be a bit of a nostalgic trip to take that one back to the cobbles and just.
I was just going to say, here's the campaign we'll start then. You and Kelly next year for Eurosport on the bikes that you won Roubaix on, just to do some pieces for Eurosport. How about that?
That sounds awesome.
That would be brilliant, wouldn't it? Absolutely. I'm not sure Sean would like to go back that far. I keep trying to get him to do Leroico, and he says, ironically, is about not the last, I think he was the second last professional to stop using clips and straps. He won't go back to it at all. I don't want to go back to that. I really don't want to go back to that. So,
we can make an exception. He can ride clipless pedals.
Okay, all right then, we'll do that.
But the frame and wheels has to be the original.
Absolutely. What wheels and tyres are we running then? Ambrosio is like everybody else?
No, I actually rode Campagnolo's climbing wheel at that time.
Did you?
The aluminium climbing wheel that they had. 24-spoke front, 28-spoke rear.
Just goes to show you can build a good wheel, can't you?
Radial front wheel and radial non-drive side on the back wheel. And because the wheel was so flexible, it gave way for any bumps and knocks that it took, and then just sprung back into the same place again. So you know, I think I rode the same set of wheels for three Paris-Roubaix, and I never had a problem with it, never breaking a wheel.
Well, I never.
And then
although the following year you broke a spoke, didn't you? I seem to remember. I remember watching you in 2005 or 6?
2006 I broke a spoke, yes.
Yeah.
So 2 years then it was that we rode those wheels, because then we changed the wheel supplier. But yeah, it just a brilliant setup, and I took so much stick from my mechanics and my sport directors for wanting to ride a 27 millimeter tyre.
And now they're all doing it. Everybody does it now.
Trendsetter, eh?
You were, absolutely. Well, I think there were riders like you, weren't there? In any period, there are riders like you who are absolutely insistent that you know, they want certain things, and people look at them like they're a loony. And these things are well thought out, and they become the norm.
Well, I worked it out when we did the recce as well. That, you know, I rode a 24 mil tyre for the recce that we did a couple of days before. Punctured 4 times in 3 sections, and stopped, and I went, this is not working, there's something wrong here, and had a look at the tyres where I'd punctured, how I'd punctured them, and it was all sidewall tears. So basically the tyre slid down between the stones and ripped a big hole in the sidewall. So I took a 27 millimeter tyre out, put it on, you know, about 10-15 different positions on along the section of cobblestones. Couldn't fit down the slot of it, so decided to give that a go.
Mustafa Seyer, leader of this race.
The boys were going along there quite nicely.
They were. 1:31, and I think it's coming to that point, isn't it? 31 kilometres, where some teams, and I'm not quite sure where those major teams are going to be, will start to put men under pressure. Pace has definitely crept up as we've been discussing all sorts of things bikey. But there doesn't seem to be any problems for Seyer at the moment. He's got Sergei Grechin, who's been looking after him just in front of him. Now, at the moment, it's Alexei Tsitsevich of Katusha who's driving this one along.
Yeah, there's a few guys pulling here. A couple of faces down the back here now, though. Yeah, there we go. First couple of guys swinging out. Maybe it's a bit of a...
interesting. Not quite sure what the point is, but... it's
a bit of crosswind.
Yeah, but not enough to really break it up.
If they kept it going, if you know, if they all stayed with that, I reckon they would have broken that up a little bit. As you can see, it was just to the point where this peloton was stringing out, and it was just being one by one. He's not happy about it.
No.
Said, I want to race.
Bradley Potgaita. And the pace is certainly up. It'll be interesting to see how well disciplined the Turku squad are here now, as more teams try to put them under pressure coming into the finish today. They will have to be quite well drilled.
They certainly will, and play quite cool as well to make sure that they spot what riders are going where, and actually, you know, we'll see how well they've studied the general classification list, so then if they know who's gonna be where. We're just on our way down to we've got quite a sharp right-hand turn when we get down onto the seafront here, which will stay with that main road and all the way into the finish. Could be a little bit of wind coming in there, and seeing the whole Turku team go straight to the front here now.
Yep.
Had a bit of a scare there, I think.
I think they did. I think they realised that there's a lot faster people in the peloton than they expected, as Mustafa Sayer crouches over those bars now. We're going to turn onto the coast very shortly, and there can be a bit of scary times for Turku as the crosswind hits them.
Dealing with the challenges ahead requires focus, concentration, and a will to succeed. The International University Sports Federation, representing 163 countries, promotes sports values in tune with the academic spirit. Thousands of students from around the world participate in the events it organizes. And what do they learn? Friendship, integrity, cooperation, and achievement. The International University Sports Federation. Excellence in mind and body.
Journey back through history with Forge of Empires and witness humanity's greatest inventions. Conquer new territories. Build and expand your city. Research and discover new technologies to lead your empire into a new era. Whether it's by yourself or with friends, forge your own empire. Play now for free at FOE.tv.
Welcome back. They're heading along the seafront here now. 1 minute 24 seconds. Little bit of a crosswind coming in from the left-hand side, but rather behind them than anything else. Hit by his own mechanic. Waiting at the side of the road, and the mechanic overshot it. Now, so let's see how the mechanic works out. I've seen this before in the Tour of the Basque Country, where one Angel Vicioso, I think it was, or one of the Angels got thumped from behind by the mechanic. The mechanic got completely flustered, totally flustered, and then ran over him again. All right this time around, just I think probably spotted him late. Pulls over to the side of the road, fine. He's just about to get off his bike, wait for it. Boing! Bada boom! He was lucky there.
He was very lucky there, yeah. That's the problem, is that, you know, it's up to the rider as well to make sure that he can sort of stop in the right way. You know, there's no point in slamming on the brakes like that. Yeah. Never mind, he's on his way again.
Yeah, he's careful of that little curve on the left-hand side there. This is Dennis van Niekerk. Van Niekerk, very tall rider, did a massive amount of work in the Tour de Taiwan in brakes. Really good rider. Had a very good Tour de Taiwan, that's for sure. I think there's a bit of a taily here. Not much of one, a little bit of one.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's not much going on there. I mean, this could have been a real problem for Turku if the wind had been thrashing in from the side. Although, as I said a bit earlier, they may well have some sort of experience riding along on these coastal roads. But now it's NetApp Endura taking over the pace-making at the front. Again, another team we've not got much out of this so far. Daniel Sean and Scott Thwaites, both pretty fast, as is Roger Kluge. All still in the race. One of their better chances today, I would think.
I would say so, yeah. I would like to see Scott Thwaites getting a good lead out and actually having a try for a stage, because he's such a fast sprinter, and I don't, you know, it'd just be nice, I think, to see him battle against the likes of Greipel and those guys, and getting the feel for what that's like.
24 kilometres to go, and yeah, I would suggest possibly there's a slight tailwind here, because they seem to be motoring along without actually giving it full gas at the moment, with Argos Shimano and NetApp Enduro taking up the pacemaking in the front. Argos Shimano, two very fast men, Nicolas Arndt and Marcel Kittel. Arndt capable of getting over these climbs a bit like a Greipel, whereas Kittel suffers a little bit on those climbs, and today it's a right up his street, really. And he's pretty good at positioning as well.
He's very good at positioning himself, and you know, that's ultimately key for when you're doing these kind of things. It's everything all day long is really about positioning yourself and staying awake, staying near the front, staying out of trouble, and even more so obviously when you're coming into towards the final. And it's not easy staying out of trouble, but certain sprinters and certain riders have got an knack for it, and they're always kind of managing to escape unscathed.
1 minute and 9 seconds. The breakaway riders, Jarier, Mikhailov, Hepburn, Jol Jensen, Finetto and Verschoor. We'll see the commissaires and race directors' car come past them when it gets to around the 30-second mark, and that's when they know that the peloton is closing in. Also the Bardini Valvoli squad moving towards the front. Marco Colodan is not so bad in the sprint. Very unhappy the other day when the huge crash took out Theo Boss and Mark Renshaw, Danny Napolitano, and half the peloton had to stop behind them, or more than half, nearly all the peloton had to stop behind them. Greipel took the second place, didn't get the win, but it was Edis Krupis who took the win, but Greipel came charging at Colodan, who thought he'd got a second place, and Colodan, although he had to work hard for it, wasn't very happy.
It certainly wasn't. I was going to say that's one of the biggest crashes, or one of the crashes that's kept the most people behind, sort of who had to stop.
Held up, yeah.
It was quite phenomenal, really.
It was really. Everybody just sort of piled into it.
6 or 7 riders that got through.
Yeah, about that.
That is proper good.
Been fabulous weather here, right the way through this Tour of Turkey. And Andre Greipel sitting right up towards the front here, wanted to keep well out of trouble. He saw what happened last year when Ilio Kesa fell, and it was a bit of a mad scramble afterwards. He realises that that might be one of the safest places to be, just up here, and he's in good shape as well. He's enjoying his Tour of Turkey. He looks in good shape. He doesn't look troubled by anything.
No, he doesn't. He's come back here a number of years now and raced, and he seems to really enjoy, you know, the race, the organisation. Obviously, you know, for any bike rider, when the hotels are good and the race is good, roads are reasonably big, and you can just kind of relax a little bit when you're racing. That just makes for a big difference. I think Garrett Cholik has got some sort of a mechanical, I think.
He's looking down at the rear mech, or somewhere down there, or maybe the seat post.
It's the electronic issues?
Quite sure. Don't think they're running electronics,
no, they're not, are they?
Some sort of issue. Anyway, mechanic leaning out of the car as Gerald Cielek gets some attention from, and you can see the MTN Quebecer squad have got their men pulled back towards the back of the group here. Van Niekerk looks over his shoulder to see where his team leader on this particular day, anyway, Gerald Cielek is. He's with the car a little bit further back, whatever issue it is. There he is, coming back through the cars by the look of it. So whatever it is, they've sorted out. 20 kilometres to go. Not going great guns here. The man who's being teed up today for Europe Cup will be Sebastian Chavanel by the look of it. 1, 2, 3 back. Quiet man. He's a best friend of our friend Geoffrey Lecatre. They're always hanging out together.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
Sheshkin right up here again. He's been riding strongly all the way through this Tour of Turkey with that massive 190 stem. My old friend Anthony Shippard, all the way from Australia now, going, let's have a look at that 190 stem yet. We've not been able to get up close enough to it to take a picture.
Well, certainly haven't been square on, have we?
No. I think they've just taken a piece of scaffold pole and sawed it off. Yes, and then just bolted it on. 104. 19 kilometres to go with Michael Hepburn sitting at the front, turning the pedals freely. I think he's been quite good. Flicks the elbow, sits up on the hoods twice now. And Mauro Finetto just taking his time, coming through a little bit. It's quite an art, isn't it, this? He's got to stay off the rumble strips in the middle, by the way. Quite an art. Doing it for the first time. Well, it's amazing, for example, riding the Dragon Ride about 3 or 4 years ago. 2 of us riding the Dragon Ride, used to doing this, you know, through and off, trying to get a whole group of struggling first-timer or second-timer sportive riders to ride in a group because they were really having trouble getting to the end. And you say to them, look, it's easier to get to the end this way. Let's give us each other a hand.
Yeah.
Didn't get it. It's quite difficult. And sometimes when they did get it, they wanted to come through to the front and accelerate, which is exactly what you don't want them to do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, just riding like that through and off, and as a team time trial as it was, is a technique, and you know, getting the feel for that is very difficult. A lot of top end riders still struggle with that whole concept of keeping a smooth passage going as you're taking your turn and moving back. And I don't know why it's so difficult, but you know, a lot of guys that still keep on, when they've moved to the side, they're still holding the same pressure on the pedals, waiting for you to sort of come past them. You're sitting there looking, we're still with 600 watts on the pedals, and at that point, you know, all you do is you stay on the wheel until it backs off. So you make the rider take a longer turn until he's realised that this is probably not such a good idea.
Yeah, so come on then, just take us through the technique of doing this. 17 kilometres to go, we've got time. Let's watch Michael Hepburn as he moves up through the group here.
Well, the key is obviously to place yourself in the best position for depending on where the wind is coming from. That can change a lot. It can change when you're riding around in between houses, so that's why you see a lot of riders kind of moving around the back of it. As you're coming up to the second wheel where Hepburn is now, then you start getting yourself ready. Maybe poke your nose out a little bit and have a look at, you know, getting a little bit of a feel for how strong the wind is, so you know how hard to come through when the guy in front of you moves to the side. And then as he then moves side, you do your turn for as long as you feel that you're comfortable with. If it's a proper chain gang, he needed to move straight off to the side of as soon as he got in front of the CCC rider, he needed to move straight onto the side. Now the wind direction has changed, as you see, because Hepburn has moved out to the left rather than changing to the right like the CCC rider were. But as Hepburn pulls out, what he needs to do is just back off one pedal stroke where he doesn't put any pressure on the pedals and then get going again. That just means that the rider who's behind him gives him a nice flow, and they keep on the same speed, the same pressure on the pedals the whole way through.
You have a dream, and you have the passion. You want to go beyond what everybody else says is possible. Imagine you riding alongside a legend. This is your chance. Conquer the road.
Eurosport Player is the multi-screen service of the Eurosport channels. With Eurosport Player, watch Eurosport and Eurosport 2 live on computer, smartphone and tablet through a single subscription. Watch your favourite events through the catch-up service. Also enjoy exclusive content through the bonus channels. Eurosport Player. All sports, all emotions.
Peloton being motored along now, driven along by Orica Greenedge. Orica Greenedge have already had one stage win here, thanks to Aedis Krupis. And they have an abundance of talent. The formerly extremely fast, not quite as fast now as he was, but he can still put up a damn good sprint when he needs to. Alan Davis, Lee Howard and Aedis Krupis are both in good form as well. So they've got, again, a really rich vein to mine here for sprinters. And that's why they're getting towards the front, along with Argos Shimano, who have Marcel Kittel. And, of course, Nicholas Arndt as well.
Interesting, both Adam Hansen and Andre Greipel are not riding the aero bike that Ridley has for them. They're both on more of a standard frame today. I would have thought, especially on a day like today, that they would have picked the most aerodynamic and super fast thing that they could find.
It's strange, isn't it, how people sometimes, well, maybe they had to change their bikes. You never know.
Might have been something about the road, you know, it being that harsh to ride, that, you know, the frame is just that little bit too stiff. And most of those bikes, they are the aerodynamic road bikes are very, very hard to ride, very stiff to ride. You know, and if you're going to sit out on the road, the roads that we've had here in Turkey, then I think they will be they'll be feeling it.
Yeah. Out the wind then are our remaining breakaway riders there. Look, the cars are coming past on the right-hand side of them. They'll know. Turku will need to make a change somewhere. Rear wheel. Oh, he made a hash of that one. David De La Fuente.
Not the best time to puncture, I've got to say.
No.
13 kilometers to go. And looking at the wind, it's going to be quite fast.
It certainly is. The wind is, look, if you can see that it's bending those grasses in the way that the peloton is travelling. It is a tail wind now. As I said, when he just stopped, De La Fuente's made a right hash of that, and then he stuck his hand in the chainring. I shouldn't laugh, but you should know better than to stick your hand there and let the mechanic turn it round.
Yeah.
Here we go, let's have a look. Tell you what, I'll put my hand in. Oh, it's the spokes. He's put it, he put his hand inside the wheel. Leave it to me, says the mechanic. Leave it to me. And quite right too. Very nasty. Can easily break fingers off in spokes.
Yeah.
Not off, obviously. Yeah, I didn't mean like they fall on the floor and roll away into the gutter.
No, no. They did ban some wheels though for a number of years ago. We got to ride them for a couple of seasons before the UCI decided that they weren't legal anymore.
Flat aero spokes.
The Spinach XREV wheels.
Oh yes.
We all rode them for like 2 or 3 seasons, I think, maybe even more than that. And then all of a sudden, someone decided they weren't safe anymore, and we had to abandon racing them.
These were the ones with the very large flat carbon spokes on.
Yeah, absolutely awesome wheel to ride in a road race. Super aerodynamic and very, very stiff.
Yeah. And also like a bacon slicer if you stuck your hand in it.
Oh, we did use them on a training camp, and actually we chopped cucumbers with them.
Oh dear, that's why the UCI banned them. You clearly, you can chop cucumbers, but you can't dice tomatoes to go with it. Levity in the box. That's good. I'm going to have to try and put a straight face now. Okay, right, 11 kilometres to go. Argos Shimano are on the front. They've got, as we say, Marcel Kittel keen to even the score with fellow German André Greipel. Greipel's been looking magnificently calm and composed, has stages to his name that are in excess of those of Marcel Kittel, who wants to draw level. 18 seconds only now as Mihailov leads them around the bend into the... well, this is where the crosswind will come into play with 10 kilometres to go, because they're moving out of this tailwind and into a side wind, I would suspect. Now Finetto.
18 seconds with 10k to go. That's gonna take something special to get home there.
Yeah, I don't think so. Somehow. The wind's not super hot, super strong. Otherwise, we'd see those palm trees rattling around like crazy.
Orica boys on the front. It's a little bit early just yet, boys. Just calm it down.
Yeah, I don't think they're going too hard, are they? They're just sort of keeping the pace going there, because a lot of movement around the side, and it would be... You can see there's not too much going on. They're not bringing these guys back too much. There's 16 seconds still separating the breakaway from the main peloton, and Orica, yeah, you're right in saying, I mean, if you were the DS, you'd be thinking, right, just slow it down a bit, slow it down a little bit. People like Thomas Weitkus should know that and go, right, okay, let's bring it down a little bit. Well, although now we've got, you know, other teams wanting to keep the pace high again.
Well, it's obviously safer when the pace is really high, especially with the wide roads that we got here in Tour of Turkey. The faster you go, the more strung out it gets, the less problems you tend to have. And the best way to do that is probably to get a couple of teams together and start doing, you know, sharing the workload and keeping that pace up there. But Argos Shimano rider just taking one of those big turns and then swings straight off and disappears into the back of it, and that's you know, one of them things you need to, with 9 kilometers to go, just keep it ticking, keep getting back in there.
You've started something now, Magnus. Stuart Abel says, never mind a cucumber, we sliced a potato once with a spinach XF. Chips, anyone? Frites, should I say? Maybe there was a good reason they were banned. 8 kilometres remaining and 13 seconds separate our breakaway riders. They only went away with about 53 kilometres to go. The first breakaway that's been allowed to get away today, and really just a bit of a show for the cameras. There's always a bit of a chance you can stay away, but you know, today a good old sprint day. Quite a slippery road surface on the way in, and I mean that because not because it's got anything on it particularly, but you can see it's quite, even here, you can see it's quite polished surface, and that's not worn tarmac, so to speak, but they, at this point in Turkey, they've mixed a lot of pebbles in with the roads, like you perhaps see on Mallorca if you've ever been there on the climb to Salor. Very much the same. Going up's all right, coming down's quite dangerous if you're not experienced at it. It's almost like it polishes the surface of the pebbles within the tarmac and makes it very slippery indeed if you're not careful. Go on, Michael.
This is pretty much what Ilya Kaiser did last year. Took off on his own with, I think it was 5k to go. He went 5,
yeah. And Ilya Kaiser, a great 6-day rider and used to this sort of effort. But this man here, Michael Hepburn, a brilliant pursuiter. He's used to a 4-kilometre effort. Maybe 7's a little bit far for him.
It might be a little bit far, but as you can see, the peloton is bearing down on that group. It was now or never. If he was going to have a go, then he couldn't really afford to wait any longer.
Well, they've seen it before. They're not going to let it happen again.
It's difficult to pull a stunt like that off twice in a row, you know.
Michael Hepburn, very fine track rider, very fine team pursuiter with Jack Bobridge and all sorts of others, but Rowan Dennis. Oh, hello. It's time to put the hammer down. This is interesting. Well, they saw that Ilio Kesa got away with it last year here with that 500 metres to go to the finish, the hairpin turn, and now Lampre have a go. I think it's going to get quite scrappy here unless a team really take charge on the front, like an Argos Shimano come to the front and just lay down the law. I reckon it might get quite scrappy here.
It does look like it, and I don't think there's one team that needs to take charge of this. There's a couple of teams that need to work together. You can see Argos Shimano, you know, they're doing these big turns and then pulling off and then drifting straight back out through the back end of the peloton. Right now, they need to keep men up there as they're just gone past the 5 kilometre to go banner. They need to keep guys and come back in like a team time trial and work at it like that. Just doing these one-off big hits is never gonna. It's not gonna work.
Good ride by Michael Hepburn, but here Argos Shimano have gone off the back as Astana try and set this up for, I would guess, Gardini.
Yeah, Gardini, but Alan Davies there, he was sitting in second wheel behind Kevin Seeldreis, and as soon as Seeldreis swung out, Alan Davies was looking around him. I'm not going anywhere because I've got a man up the road.
Yeah, quite. He's drifted back a little bit there now. Oh, swings over. Look at the quick-step riders on the left-hand side. Just all moving up towards the front. One, two, three, four, five of the Omega Pharma quick-step riders. They've got a number of fast riders as well. Andy Fenn, Steegmans, Trentin, they're all pretty quick.
They're all very quick, aren't they? Interesting to see whether Steegmans has the power to go for a sprint. I'd like to see him have another go.
Tell you what, Michael Hepburn's doing a great job here.
He's
still out by himself.
Certainly making them work for it, isn't he?
He is, absolutely, and he's making more than one team work for it as well.
Netap Endura.
Still, look, 1, 2, 3, 4 riders from Omega Pharma Quick-Step up towards the front. And who are they riding for? Looks like Steegman's at the back of this little train of Omega Pharma riders. We'll have to see. Now Orica Greenedge coming around the right-hand side of the peloton, bringing men towards the front. As Netap Endura as well. It's Rabon, and then, yeah, I think Steegmans is the man they're riding for here.
Maybe it could be Andy Fenn.
Could be, but it looks like a very tall rider at the back, which would indicate Steegmans. Mind you, Fenn's not small, but he's not as big as Steegmans.
That was an interesting little turn there.
3 kilometres to go. Some riders been caught out on the right-hand side. Not quite the place to be.
You got a quite a big sort of roundabout there. You go half. Well, you go straight across it more or less, but without obviously jumping over things. So it's quite a sharp corner coming up here. Left-hander.
Oh, that was a bit dodgy. Doing a little bit of cyclocross across this road and trying to get back into the group.
Yeah, they got caught on the wrong side of this, and there is
still up.
I don't think there is a way to actually get back in from there.
That is very, very difficult indeed. They're backing off the pedals completely. They can't get across.
They can't get across because when I rode this circuit earlier, I could see all the barriers lining them up so that they were supposed to be on the left-hand side. The only place they can do it would be up here, but race is over for them.
The race is over completely. That's Orica Greenedge on the right-hand side have been caught out. That will be, well, that'll be Krupis and, watch out for this right-hander. Just make sure everybody gets through all right. The Krupis and Lee Howard, I would imagine, who were caught out on that right-hand side of the barriers.
Could very well have been, and that's a shame for Orica, obviously.
Running underneath the palm trees, there's a long, long line of palm trees. Rabon did a big turn on the front.
Yeah, they need to keep this going, though, because from the last corner, it's just about 800 metres, I think.
This is Andy Fenn putting the power down now. It is Steegmans they're working for, third back in line. Look at United Healthcare here.
Yeah, very well sitting there.
And Astana trying to fight towards the front to being Guardini. Or could be Guarnieri, either one. But Guardini, I would imagine, up towards the front. Still fighting. That looks like Pozzato in there.
It is, yep.
Yep, Filippo Pozzato, the first of the Lampre riders. Here we go. This is coming into the finale of today's day. Oh, would you believe it? Would you believe it? A crash, exactly the place that brought down Helio Case last year has brought down a load more today, and it looks like Omega Pharma Quick-Step are sitting pretty here. Look at Colin.
Kittel coming on the left-hand side of your picture.
Yep, Kittel on the far left-hand side. He's got Nicolas Arm with him. He's right in the centre of the shot now, just behind Colodan. Guarini is sat at the back of this group. I'm not sure who the NetApp Enduro boy is in here this sprint at the moment. Oh, it's a looking around job. As Steegmans, I think, drives for the line.
It's not Steegmans.
It's not Steegmans, no. Driving to the line is Kittel on the left-hand side. Easily fastest here at the moment. Kittel pushing towards the line. It's going to be an easy win for Marcel Kittel. Takes his second victory. What a scrappy end. Would you believe they all came down on the corner that brought down Helio Case? And I think it's because it's just such a tight turn and everybody was fighting to get through. It's a shame we didn't actually see it. We only saw the aftermath.
Yeah, they didn't, obviously didn't sort of see how sharp that corner is, and it's difficult sometimes when you're looking at the map and seeing how tight the corner is, and obviously a couple of guys getting it wrong, and unfortunately one of those guys was my old friend Francesco Cicchio was having quite big hopes for. See here, that's where it all went wrong for quite a few riders actually.
Oh, more than a few. Here we go.
Here we go. Who's going first then?
Who goes down? Does anybody collide with the barriers, or do they slip on the stones? Or a touch of wheels? Oh, there we are in the middle. It's the Quebec rider, and it might have been Kiki actually.
It might have been Kiki that went first, or his lead-up man, yeah.
So coming together between Vini Fantini and MTN Quebeca. And quite a scrappy finish in the end. Kittel had plenty of free air to get through. No real problems there.
Had to go from quite far out as well, by the looks of it.
Yeah, Sonny Colbrelli trying to hang in there, but just completely outclassed. And I think is that Sebastian Chavanel coming through, not quite sure. Fine win for Marcel Kittel though. Brian Coquard, I think, probably. A bit shorter than, let's have a look at the face when we see it in a second. Marcel Kittel is clearly the fastest of the riders here. That is Brian Coquard on the left-hand side.
Yep.
Typical sort of very low on the bike, hangs his head on the right hand side.
And also very typical for a track rider, points race rider, never really getting out of the seat.
No, very much so. Kittel from Gardini, who got through there. Maximiliano Riccesi for Lampre. Fought as hard as he could to stay on the wheel of Marcel Kittel, but couldn't manage it. Then Brian Coquard, Sonny Colbrelli, and Jacob Keogh. I think the rider from Quick-Step actually who got through there was Nicolas Mace. Large rider. Let's have a look again. Here we go around the corner. Oh, Sergei Grechin almost coming to grief there as well. Remember, if anything happens to anybody in the last 3 kilometers of a race like this, they are given the same time as the group that they were in, so they will get a group all together. They won't lose all those 40 seconds to somebody.
No.
Here we are, Kittel, Guardini, Riccesi, Brian Coquard, Sonny Colbrelli, Jacob Keogh, Francisco Lasca, and then Jakob Latz. He came down on the cobbles in the Arenberg, I seem to remember. Adis Krupis and Nicolas Mace then would have been their Quick-Step rider who led them through. Kittel very happy, and unsurprisingly, class of the sprints there.
Yeah, I mean, the way he came up there, his teammate brought him up just in about right time after having got through that final corner, and it wasn't really a question of who was going to win that one. Just by far the strongest man.
Good riding by Guardini, though. He managed to get through the mess, and he pulled himself up through 2 or 3 riders to get that second place. That was good.
Yeah, he did, definitely. He's not really been on super form lately, Guardini's. You know, I'm kind of expecting that little bit more of him all the time, and I don't know whether I'm wrongly doing so or not, but here we go, confirmation of UGC.
Mustafa Seya leads by 41 seconds still over Nahanil Bahani, and failing all disasters for him, and those could come in many forms, remember, he will win the Tour of Turkey ahead of Nathaniel Bahani, Johan Bajo, Maxime Mederel, Nicolas Edey, Kamar at 102, Darwin Atapuma at 108, Florian Joulou at 109, Andranov just behind those. But the stage win goes to Marcel Kittel, 2 apiece for himself and fellow countryman André Greipel. Tomorrow, stage 8, the final stage of the Tour of Turkey, and my final stage in a race for the next 2 months until the Tour de France. I'm going to take a bit of time off. 121 kilometers from Istanbul, around in a loop back into Istanbul again. The most fantastic city, Istanbul. It's totally crackers all the way along the coast, and the old town is just, the old city is absolutely fabulous. Well, we hope you enjoyed today. This hairpin's going to become famous, believe me. Over the last 2 years, it's been fantastic. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.